So your beat B boss, who would have thought? Scratch that off your bingo card if you thought he was going to win the Yankees a game this year. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Carlos Rodon's start in the bullpen and what they were able to accomplish, but they scored 1 run. Actually, as a matter of fact, between two teams today, only 1 run was scored, and it was B boss. So we're going to get into it. We got a lot of things that we want to talk about Aaron Boone. Because the prompt of this, Gary, was how much credit do you give Aaron Boone for the Yankees' hot start? And to be fair, I was just saying this off air to you. I like pretty much all the managers and coaches that are, ahead of, in charge of the team that I root for, right? And all of them, whether they have a championship ring or not, I am critical of. And that's just the way I think sports fandom is. Sean McVay won a Super Bowl. He's been to 2. He is not even 40 yet. And I am still very critical of him. And I love the guy. And then you have J.J. Redick, I was just telling you about, with the Los Angeles Lakers. Just had the first 50-win season in quite some time for the Lakers. Hated the way he coached in the postseason. Still love the guy, right? So those are like some examples. But I actually like Aaron Boone. I do. I don't think Aaron Boone is a crazy Hall of Fame level manager, but I like him. I like the things he does. I like that he stands up for his players. I do like that he does have that generation, that third generation baseball feel to him. Now, he doesn't always use that, and that's where I criticize him, and there are reasons I criticize him, but I thought he managed today very well. And I think for the most part, we can be nitpicky about him, and we are. But for the most part, Aaron Boone has managed very well for the Yankees. And that is why 5 times since 2018, the Yankees have had 30-plus wins going into that 50th game of the year. And only, actually, there's never been a time that they've had a negative record. And the least, as far as the win differential, they've been above 500 by 7 wins. So that is literally the lowest they've ever been. So you can say what you will. Yeah, they have, a really high payroll and all. I get that. But at some point or another, you got to give him some credit for being this consistent with some of the variables they've had to go through with, Garrett Cole back-to-back years being injured and DJ LeMahieu dealing with injuries, who have you brought up before as like one of their top hitters. So I do feel like, yes, he makes some annoying decisions. I do criticize him, but I think in the grand scheme of things, obviously he just is missing that ring. But in the grand scheme of things, he's been pretty darn good, at least to start the season through the first 50 games. And so that's what I want to talk about. We're not talking about the full season because the full season hasn't happened yet. We're talking about the 49 games, and the Yankees right now sit 30-19, and I think that's a great record to have. And by the way, I've never seen this before. They have an expected win record of 34-16. So, look, I understand 34-15. I understand that sounds bad on Boone, but I think really that was the struggles early on with Devin Williams.
Yeah, and first and foremost, welcome in, Trent. Glad you can make the live. And
what's up, Trent?
When it comes to Aaron Boone's job, I feel like this is like being a part of a flight. And you sort of walk past the cockpit, you look at the pilot, and you just pretty much say hello, right? And at no point, if the pilot gets out and uses the restroom, would you stop him and be like, hey, nice job on this flight so far. We haven't dealt with a ton of turbulence. You seem to be doing this well. I feel like that's the job of the Yankees manager, and to the point where you don't thank the guy until you're on the ground at your destination. Then you walk off the plane and say, hey, nice job. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. That's what Aaron Boone's job is. I feel like I'll thank him when he does a job well done, when the job's finished. And along the way, we'll mention some of the work he's doing. So for me, Aaron Boone is just going to have to essentially play the role of a thankless job. That's Yankees manager. I'm sorry. Hate to tell you, Yankees fans will never be satisfied with the job that he's doing until he's winning. So his job right now, you mentioned his starts. His starts have been great. I saw it in the chat. Some people have said that this is an indication of a lot of roster depth. I think that's a part of it, certainly. We didn't sign Juan Soto. We signed multiple other players. That helps. A couple guys go down with injuries. You can make up for it because you have more bodies who are making somewhat of some coin to give you some performance. And then it helps, of course, with Ben Rice giving you performance. Anthony Volpe, we're hoping he takes a major step forward offensively. But there have been ways. Paul Goldschmidt, we didn't think we were getting this version of him, but he's been excellent. So, whole point here, Aaron Boone, he just needs to remain consistent with how he's managing these games. We said last year, we love how he's stretching out these starters. He's making sure they go deep into games. He's preserving the bullpen. We were all clapping our hands at the time. And yet, when it all mattered, he threw a starter on the mound in the World Series and just surprised us all. So I just want to make sure Aaron Boone remains responsible to remain consistent with how he manages this team. Things have to change, certainly. You have to be on your feet, but you need to have the correct choices throughout the season. First month of the season, okay. We go second, third, fourth month, right? We get to the All-Star break, and you need to see, okay, how is this going month to month? And then say, all right, I have an understanding of how he wants to manage these games. The important games, the 2-1, 1-0, 3-2 games, where you say, this game's going to be dictated by the fundamentals, maybe by the manager in the dugout. Those are the games I want Aaron Boone to prove to me he can go out and win. And I know he doesn't play, but there's a reason they pay all these guys, these managers, all this money. So, yeah, I'm not going to necessarily, I know the prompt is, are you going to give Aaron Boone a ton of credit or whatever it is?
Or how much credit, yeah.
How much credit are you going to give him? Not a ton. I'm not. I just think in general, like, I'm happy to be where we are, but he knows this is not his job. His job description is to do it when it really matters, and obviously there's a prerequisite to that, and he's in the midst of doing that.
No, I think that's definitely fair. I thought it was really interesting, by the way. I came across managerial tendencies over on Baseball Reference, and Aaron Boone is second this year in stealing second rate. Okay, 7.9% is the second all-time in his career on the Yankees. 8.1 in 2023. But the noticeable one, kind of backing up that depth comment, right, and really showcasing it, 0.73 pinch hitter per game appearance. That is the highest of the entire career of him as a manager. Before that, 0.37 last year, 0.51 before, 0.58. So to the point, you have essentially more depth than I think they've ever had. You are in a good spot. It's frustrating to not have a Ben Rice, in the lineup. It's frustrating when you have to have Paul Goldschmidt, oh yeah, we'll give him an off day, but really you're just trying to keep Ben Rice playing and you're kind of forcing an off day on your second best hitter.
It's literally just musical chairs at this point.
Yeah. But what that does though, is guys like Goldschmidt that keep themselves hot, and they're ready to go. You can rely on that guy in a pinch hit spot. It's not Giancarlo's, 0.020 batting average.
I was going to say, I don't know if you have those stats in front of you. Giancarlo is one of the worst pinch hitters ever. And this is a player who might be scratching the surface of the Hall of Fame. He's probably he might hit 500 homers career. Yeah. So
not everybody's a good pinch hitter though. Like
not everybody can hit off the bench. So, and he's
it's a different
one of them.
Game.
And he always found himself off the bench when it came to pinch hitting. And we normally throughout the years, we haven't really had a bench. So I think that's to some degree on Brian Cashman and not necessarily Aaron Boone and the job that they do off the bench. So,
yeah.
And Kyle, and we couldn't
Kyle.
agree more here. Says,
absolutely.
Thank God for B-Boss today, who we want to make sure we give him all the credit when it's due. We don't win this game without him.
No.
Solo homer, right? First home run of his career. Honestly, the Yankees just don't win these games. That's just as simple as I can put it. The Yankees don't win games like that. I almost feel like the game didn't happen. Like we played half of a baseball game, if that makes sense.
It was a weird game. It started at 12:35. I now understand why it started at 12:35 because they already screwed up their. This is my take, okay? So if you have a day off, people don't understand. There's no such thing as rest days in baseball. There's just not. When you have a day off, it is to travel. That is the entire point of that. They're not like, oh, I think they could use a rest right around. That's not why they're there. But still, you have these schedule makers that are like, oh, the Yankees just played an interesting little series against the Mets at Yankee Stadium and are going to stay at Yankee Stadium and play the Rangers. Off day on Monday. And that's why people are like, off day on Monday? It should have been Thursday. And that's why most often, Gary, it is on Thursday. That way you can prepare and travel and you don't have to play a 12:35 game and then right after run out the door and fly to Colorado. It's just stupid. It really is.
Well, shoot, I'll play these games at 8 a.m. if Carlos Rodon's going to pitch this way.
Yeah,
Carlos
well,
Rodon today, for those of you who missed it, and I don't blame you for missing, it was the middle of your workday. Yeah. And for those of you on the West Coast, it was practically in the morning. And I'm on the West Coast. This game started at 9:35. Insane, right? Carlos Rodon goes 6 full, 2 hits, 2 walks, 8 Ks. Jake and I hit the over on that, so want to pat ourselves on the back. But we saw our A guys
Barely.
at the bullpen. I know. And we were sweating. Yeah. Leiter Jr., Williams, Weaver, technically speaking, all 3 of those guys were in high leverage immediately. So you're talking about a 1-run lead or preserving a 0-0 game. Yeah, that is as high leverage as it gets, obviously outside of October baseball. And we also, you would have expected to see Cruz in a game like this, but he is on the IL currently. We have an update from Yes Network's Meredith Marakovitz. She says, Fernando Cruz said he felt a little pull. This is interesting. In his trap the other day, which prompted him to get checked out. MRI showed no structural damage in the shoulder, just inflammation. Had a cortisone shot, will play catch today. So obviously great news that he is throwing. And every time you see cortisone shot, it sounds awful, but these are pretty standard. And you just have to read the player. What type? Is it Giancarlo Stanton getting a cortisone shot? Or is it a DJ LeMahieu? Or is it a Cruz? You've got to read the player. And obviously, the tea leaves say he's playing catch. This seems like it's going to be, I know, Jake, you gave me the update yesterday. You expected it to be a shorter stint on the IL, which is great. And this is more of a rest situation. And I don't know, maybe this is a blessing in disguise, but I still try to pump the brakes about resting guys in the middle of the year just because we said this about Heel. We're like, all right, it sucks that he's hurt, but maybe he'll be rested at the end of the season, and you never saw him again. So I don't know.
Yeah, like he came back and had some moments, but he wasn't Heel of earlier in the year. So I agree with that. Now, the interesting thing here, I just want to point out, Fernando Cruz, that 15-day injured list, it's retroactive to 5/19. So what that means is essentially it's not a full 15 days. Like, they're basically telling us they expect him to be back sooner than what the allotted time would be. So that's a good thing. I like this one.
I was trying.
Beboss Island.
I've never seen that yet. Rocky, did you think of that yourself? Because that is that's strong right there.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to be a football fan to understand a clue what he's talking about. But I'm assuming, right? We've got some Jets fans in here, right? You got to know who Revis Island is.
Yeah, of course.
It's probably the greatest cornerback, if not maybe second greatest cornerback to ever live. And Matthew with the super, thank you, Matthew, for the 10, says, mighty controversial take. We love those here at this channel, so we appreciate it already. Says, but after seeing both Boone and Girardi manage, I think I prefer Girardi. I think he held the team more accountable and less head-scratcher moments. So, Matthew, again, thank you for supporting this channel.
Thank you, Matthew.
And I think what you're picking up on as a fan of this team when it comes to the difference between Boone and Girardi is not analytics-based. That's the reason he was fired, actually, in the first place. Because remember, Brian Cashman said, and ownership said, well, we thought we should have won the World Series in 2017. And guess who the manager was then? But we got rid of him. So you have to wonder, why did that happen? Well, the Yankees wanted to go a different direction. They wanted to go a direction towards analytics. Well, sometimes analytics brings you a direction that maybe you wouldn't do with your mind. Sometimes there's just an obvious decision that the number crunch says to do something different. So I think, Matthew, what you're realizing is you like the eye test better. You like the feel of the game. And Girardi brought that. So Love to have him in the booth. I sure would love to have him in the dugout again, but here we are. Aaron Boone's our manager, and the ultimate goal is still to win. I don't think any of us really care how we get there. You just got to get there. But when we continuously fail to actually accomplish the ultimate goal, it makes you question, could maybe another manager in our past have done this job?
It's interesting, Gary. I'm actually going to surprise you. I thought I liked Girardi more. Boone has actually won more games. He has a better win percentage. And I guess for me, I look at the World Series, and I think that's where a lot of people will gravitate towards. And I like Girardi, and I like him in the booth. I like Girardi. But I think, like, Aaron Boone has yet to have a season where they went out and spent like 2009. They have not done that. You know what I mean? So I don't really feel like he's had that opportunity. I think the closest was Soto, and you saw the closest was Soto when they go to the World Series. So as much as I get on Boone, this is what I'm talking about, where I actually feel like he's become a little underrated, and I also don't believe in the analytics at all. I think he believes in analytics more than Girardi because it's the sign of the times.
Certainly, yeah.
But I looked at today's lineup. We went over it last night, Gary. If you are using analytics and you are not putting DJ LeMahieu in that lineup when he's had 50-plus plate appearances and over a 350 batting average against Eovaldi, you're not using analytics correctly. So I genuinely do not believe they used it. I don't think they use it for the lineup. I think they use it in the meetings that maybe conjure the lineup, right? Because they have those meetings in the morning.
So more of like a pregame plan. Like we'll brainstorm a little bit. But
how you and I would
it's not going to dictate.
Yeah, like this idea, and I think this has hurt Boone. This idea that none of us know exactly how the lineup is made, right?
Right.
None of us. But for whatever reason, there was a rumor that went out that he has some guy, like we always joke about, some guy from Yale or Harvard or insert an Ivy League school there, who just prints out the lineup from his spreadsheet and gives it to Boone. That's not what's happening. And you can clearly see that if you're paying attention. Because again, Gary, there's been multiple times where we saw the player who had the best batting average, best OPS career against the pitcher that was on the mound was sitting that day. And I don't necessarily blame Boone. I would have played LeMahieu, but the manager's also at the stadium early on. He's getting to see these guys and figuring out, okay, we're not going to play you today. Or, okay, we're going to play you. Because here's the thing. When he does those interviews in the morning, he knows what his lineup's going to be. But how many times have we seen the lineup change? I think when he has the initial lineup and then he sees how guys warm up, they only have to announce it 3 hours before. It's not like they have to announce it earlier. And I think he lets the process play out. And we've seen guys get scratched. And I think, I give him a hard time, when I see a Pablo, Reyes in there. But the problem is, it's like we're not. Yeah, as you should. But we're also not there. So if Boone saw something in like batting practice or something in the field and was like, I have a good feeling about him today, or I have a negative feeling about this guy today because he just doesn't look like he's bringing it to the park today, then that's when a manager has to make a decision. So that's my take on that. I think, unfortunately, he's gotten in trouble for something he doesn't do. And the fan base brings it up all the time, how he has, the analytic, they hand him the lineup. I don't think that's the case at all.
Well, I mean, he has tried to defend himself throughout the years. I mean, he did this from the very beginning. He's like, guys, the reason this guy's out of the lineup is because I said he's out of the lineup. That's why. Yeah. And everyone sort of projected, well, the Yankees go towards analytics, right? We always had our training staff bouncing around. It seemed like we were behind the eight ball, whereas other organizations like the Dodgers, right, the Padres, they were developing young talent. They had talent, people overperforming. We had guys underperforming their contracts, and it sort of makes you look dumb. It makes everybody look like they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. And regardless of how many games you win in the regular season, because I know you mentioned that obviously Boone has won more regular season games than Girardi, and that's technically true on average during the regular season. But it's all about, especially here in New York, what your ceiling is. So I'm not sure if your job is just to get there and be a part of the dance more consistently, or is your job to I don't know, be prom queen or prom king for once, right? I feel like that's it. So I don't know. Jordan with the super with the 10 says, I think Boone gets a lot of credit for how he managed the situation. I kind of disagree. I don't remember anybody really talking about Boone in this equation, which I feel like maybe he's saying he should, and I hope that's what it is. With Williams back to normal, took the closer's role away early, but managed to keep his confidence up in high leverage situations.
He's
so
saying
I agree.
He gives him credit. That's what he's saying. Okay.
And I agree completely. He should get a lot more credit because you have to remember, we were all just throwing mud and just throwing the bananas all over. We're just freaking out. Devin Williams is horrible. Why did we give him this position in the ninth inning? And no one really talked about how Boone got on top of it right away. I'm going to take him out of this situation because he learned from this mistake. It wasn't analytics. Last year, Clay Holmes was in the closer's role way too long.
It's true.
Months too long. And we were just wrestling with this idea of how good could this Yankees team be with this two-headed monster in the lineup if we just weren't blowing game after game, ruining sweeps, right? Ruining the rubber matches of big series during the regular season because we don't have a closer who can close a game. And yet, Boone's like, no, I trust my guy. I trust my guy. Now this season, he watches Devin Williams essentially be who Devin Williams was for the first couple weeks there. And he's like, Weaver, get back in there. He deserves credit.
Yeah. No, he absolutely does. 100%. I can't stress it enough. He's not like a young manager. He's younger than a lot of others. Like he's 52. That's considered like young in the league, I would say. But he's been around since 2018. So typically this is when a guy like this would be stuck in his ways. But in a lot of cases, he is. Like, he won't get off, Anthony Volpe. He defends him like crazy. He has those
He's going to age like the president. You ever see when people become president of the United States, they come in, you're like, oh, see him in 4 years. They'll do fine. This dude's been in the pressure before. They come back, and they look like they aged 25 years. It happens to every single one of them. So, yeah, Boone has a tough job. It's high stress. It's not like managing the Rangers. And I understand this isn't anything personal, but there's a huge difference between managing one team to the next. Yankees fans, I mean, look at the Mets right now. They're sitting here. There are people who are recording whether or not Juan Soto smiled at all yesterday at the game. I'm being dead serious. They literally were like, there was a big hit in the game. Juan Soto didn't even crack a smile. He was reached to dap somebody, and he barely wanted to do that. They don't do this in Cincinnati, whether they're winning or losing. It just doesn't happen. So funny. Aaron Boone has a tough job. But I want to get into what Carlos Rodon did because I think he deserves, obviously,
he deserves
a
freaking ton of credit.
Because now he's been a 2. He was a 2 before we got Max Fried. We had Garrett Cole. He was really a 2 when we had Luis Gil.
Yeah.
No Garrett Cole. So he knows what it's like to be in this position. And at this point, this is the player we paid $180 million. This is the guy.
His ERA in May is 2.55.
Yeah, he's missing bats.
Actually,
he's
it's
going
lower
deeper
because ESPN isn't updated, so it'll be lower than 2.55 in May. And I mean, he leads the AL in strikeouts, Gary. But I also, again, we've talked about it. His strikeouts have been more efficient. I know today he had to work to get 8 for us, but his strikeouts have been more efficient. He's not sitting there like just fouling off pitches like crazy, like where he's just kind of, it's in the strike zone, but kind of outside the strike zone. It's more of kind of a pitch that is going to get fouled off. They're not trying to make solid contact with it because it's going to be an out if they do. But I feel like he's been going after guys more. He's not just nibbling, as you would say. And I've noticed that. I thought today really wanted that last strikeout. And you see
what Boone said after the game, by the way?
No, what'd he say?
So when he talked about it, he said, why do you think this start worked out for Rodon? Like, what is the difference? And he said he controlled 3-2 counts. And mind you, you don't want to get into a 3-2 count. You feel like I have to throw a strike. This is an action pitch. The ball's either going to be put in play, I'm going to strike a guy out, or I'm going to walk him, and either way, I'm kind of ruining my pitch count even being in this situation in the first place. But Boone brought it up because he was able to essentially get out of danger with multiple 3-2 counts throughout this game. You hardly saw any hard contact in 3-2 counts, which shows you what his stuff like. It shows you what his location's like. And most importantly, it shows you he trusts his breaking stuff and his fastball in counts that are just not opportunistic at all for pitchers. So I was proud of what Rodon's done, and the inverse of that for Rodon and what came out of his mouth post-game, and this is what I found most interesting. They said, what happened out there? And you'd think he would take this moment to realize, well, I've just been great now for weeks on end. This Yankees crowd's more than likely warming up to me. What does he talk about? Did he talk about his command? Did he talk about his fastball? His maybe a sinker that he's working on, a changeup, a slider? Nope. He talked about the defense at third base. He talked about the play from Cody Bellinger in right field, which tells me, Jake, that he's now looking at it as a team game rather than my start's getting off track and getting wound up. No, you're going to face adversity throughout every start. And occasionally, because of your talent, you won't. But you don't need resolve when you've got it going. You need resolve more times than not in your other starts. And today was one of those days. He had to work hard throughout this start, but you look up and it's a 1-0 win. So credit to Carlos Rodon, and I loved that he noticed the defense behind him.
Oh, yeah. And he's a matured player, you know, and I think it's gone as much as just a year to really see it. Real quick before we get into the super chats, because we got some bangers, man. You guys are awesome. Really just want to shore this up here. I know Girardi had more wins than Boone. I'm saying the win percentage, Boone has a higher win percentage by a decent bit. I'm not saying he's way better, but my argument was that essentially Boone hasn't had that 1 year where the Yankees go all in, they sign 3 of the top free agents and just let it hang out. And he hasn't had that chance. The closest thing he got was Juan Soto, and they went to the World Series. So
yeah, so if they get a Kyle Tucker, say this offseason, and they turn around and say, Kyle Tucker, Michael King, let's go for it. We're the bad Yankees again. And now you look at Boone and say, this is one of those 09 off seasons where there are no excuses. You've got the more talented roster, right? You're going to more than likely be hosting games at Yankee Stadium. There's no reason not to win the World Series. So I agree with you. I'm glad you brought it up. It's more of the rate of which you're winning games. If Boone continues being manager the next 5 years, he'll just blow past what Girardi was doing. So it's old school versus new school.
Exactly. 100%. I knew you know where I was going with that. I just wanted to, reiterate, make sure there was no confusion.
I didn't want anyone to message me about it.
Mark, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you. Great we won the series, but I don't know. I'm just not happy with our lack of offensive production lately. We won't win games scoring low runs. On side note, who schedules an afternoon game against Texas, all caps, on a Thursday? Who can make it? So I like Mark's super chat. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand where he's coming from. Yes, it's frustrating not to see offensive production. If you heard me, especially before the show, you would have been pissed because I said, I'm glad they won 1-0. They needed a win like this. I want to see them hold on to a 1-0 lead. And I'm glad they won this way. But I would also say this. They just swept a team. I don't care how poorly they hit or anything. They just swept a team that has the best rotation in baseball currently. Swept. They had Ryan Yarbrough go toe-to-toe with Jacob deGrom. They had Patrick Corbin, who's been unhittable. They had Will Warren on his tail. And then today, Carlos Rodon outdueled, and it was a tough one, but he outdueled Eovaldi, who's been better than all of them.
Yeah, you just don't get win streaks, by the way, because we've now won 4 games in a row. Yeah. You don't win 8, 9, 10 games in a row by just beating the brakes off the ball. It just doesn't happen. So, Mark, I understand fully. When you show up to the yard and you pay a lot of money, and we pay more money today than any humans in history to go watch baseball. I get it.
Chicken buckets, man.
Chicken buckets. We went to the game and we bought a chicken bucket. Thankfully, at least they give you somewhat of your money's worth, I guess. They literally gave me 2,000 calories worth of French fries just stacked to the bottom.
I mean, they're kind of mid, but yeah.
Oh, it's the most mid meal you've ever had. The chicken tenders were fine.
Yeah,
but I guess the point is that Mark's saying, well, I want to go to the yard and I want to be the Yankees. I want to put up 8. I want to be sending balls out into the seats. I want to hit balls into the upper deck. I understand all of that, and I agree. But that's just not the way this game's played, more times than not. And, Mark, this situation, the way this game was played, you got to expect your offense long-term to be better, and certainly they do. But you're going to have to win a game like this in October. Do the Yankees in 2024, do they win this type of game? No.
No.
In 2023, do they win this game? Nope. No chance. And this is why you have to look up and say, this is great practice for the style of game we may have to win when it matters. So I know winning 97 games, and I predicted this Yankees team to win anywhere between 88 and 90 wins. They blow past it at, say, 99 wins. At the time, I'm going to say this is great. Awesome. But you know what's going to happen on first pitch of game 1 of the DS? I'm not going to care. I'm not going to be thinking about what happened in the regular season. You know why? Neither are you guys. You guys are going to want now expectations to shift for this Yankees team to start executing in close games. 1-0 games, 2-1 games, and that's why this game on May 22nd matters. You didn't have the offensive output, but you still somehow, some way had a young player throw a big punch that got you a win on a day you didn't expect to win.
And more importantly, it's so hard to sweep a team. They know that you're about to sweep them, and you get like an extra level of defense. So I was actually surprised they were able to win this game 1-0. I didn't think that they were going to hold it off. It really got dicey when Mark Leiter Jr. came in, got himself into some trouble, but got out of it. And I think these type of games are the ones that you put on your resume, you put in your mind. You know, when you're thinking about the Yankees and how far they can go, you go back to May and you're like, well, these are the type of wins. 1-0 game. This is like a playoff game. I'm not saying that it was the Mets, you know, it was not the Subway Series atmosphere, but like how just the margin could not have been slimmer. So, yeah, I had no issue with winning the game 1-0. I understand, though, to your point, you spend a lot of money, go to the stadium to see a 1-0 game. That isn't always the most fun.
Well, I mean, Aaron Judge's batting average, you can't say it plummeted. I mean, it dropped below 400. So Aaron Judge didn't have himself an Aaron Judge-like series. But can you win if he doesn't provide just superhero work? What type of baseball team are you? And I literally remember 2 years ago, I hopped on MLB Network, and I was like, if Aaron Judge doesn't perform, this team's not very good. They can't win. He carries. Do you remember the conversation last year? Judge and Soto carry 1-2 punch, right? How many people showed up to the yard today and expected B-Boss to possibly make an impact? How many?
And
obviously, this super
happening.
chat. Yeah. And we're getting impact from guys, Cody Bellinger on the defensive end. Obviously, his bat's turning around. But meanwhile, we've got this super from Ashay Amen. So thank you for the 5. It says, I was at the game, and it was amazing. I was able to see B-Boss's first homer. That's pretty cool. Also, I was at the game when Ben Rice hit his first home run. Love the videos. Thank you so much for the support. And I think we might need to send.
Yeah, we need to get this guy to every game.
Yeah, we need to send. Yeah, you need to be at every game. We need to send you some postseason games is what we need to do.
Yeah,
so.
that's what needs to happen. I mean, good Lord. Appreciate
we've got Dave M with the super with the 5 says series takeaway. I believe I recognize Dave M from Twitter. So if that's you, welcome aboard. Says series takeaway. Anything else we get from Yarby and B-Boss this year is frosting. We need to remember that in 3 weeks. So Jake, I sort of agree with this. Like young players and depth pieces that you get a little shot in the arm. You don't remember them in the postseason. Like they sort of just become a part of history that is just buried. But there's a huge level of importance to these guys. Like, do you think either of these players have any staying power that'll matter long term, or do you think this is like a genuine shot in the arm?
It's funny because this is such a Garyism. Like this is how you view like the course of a season. This is like I'm surprised you didn't like make this. This is exactly
you think Dave M is really you? I'm Dave M. I'm super chatting.
I'm super chatting while podcasting. That's hilarious. No, all jokes aside, I see a lot of truth to this, but I also want to point out something, Gary. I didn't realize, and this is on me. I take full responsibility. Ryan Yarbrough was a starter, and he actually had some success. And I don't know what happened. I didn't go too much into it, but he then at some point got shoved into the bullpen. But I mean, we're talking about his like rookie year in 2018. He had 16 wins and 6 losses as a starter. He had a 3.91 ERA. Like, this guy's a former starter. So why did I look this up, Gary? Because he said, it's nice to be starting again. And I was like, wait a minute. What? And here I was thinking, oh, yeah, it's just some cool project. No, and this gets me excited, and here's why. Because you look at last year, and last year, he was pretty decent, I thought. He was with the Dodgers. He was with Toronto. And he's had moments in his career that he's shown you some ability. Gary, with Matt Blake, I think he is their 6th man in the bullpen. And I think he's going to be a weapon. And I think he honestly takes the bullpen to another level once Luis Heel takes over that spot, which he's going to.
I kind of get, though, why he doesn't start, right? I mean, pitching coaches and managers in general, if you think about it, there's a reason that we pay so much attention to stuff. Why we look up at the radar gun, why we look at analytics, baseball savant, look at spin, how many different pitches a guy's got. But when you throw 90 to 91 and you're this sidearm crafty lefty, you're essentially sending the message that I'm fooling guys. Like, that's how I'm getting them out. I'm out sequencing them. I'm giving them great location, and they're going to struggle to time up what I'm doing. But what you feel like with Yarbrough, and we had this conversation the last time he went out there, he was literally pulled from the game because Aaron Boone was afraid he was being figured out as the game was going. And you didn't like that decision.
No, I didn't like it.
That's ultimately the decision that was made. So I think that's why he ends up in the bullpen. I just think it's stuff. I don't think it's whether or not he can get outs. But you look at a guy like Seth Lugo, who's somebody who was moved, right? Clay Holmes was moved from the bullpen to the starting rotation, but they've got high velocity, high spin rate. So you can sort of justify why that's happening. So, yeah, obviously the Yankees took somewhat of a risk here. They considered him an opener, and I think he's sort of massaged his way into earning innings. So good for him.
Yeah, I like it because I think there are definitely some things that you can learn from with Ryan Yarbrough. So what ended up happening and what I actually found was, and of course, maybe I don't know exactly, but the numbers suggest he has gone kind of all over the place with his pitches, right? Fastball, cutter, sinker. So Matt Blake was like, hey, your cutter, like batters are literally hitting 400 against it. Let's just not have that cutter be your main pitch. You're getting killed. And now he has a positive run value with his sinker and his changeup and his sweeper. So they're finding different ways to help him. And he still throws the cutter, but it's not his main pitch. As a matter of fact, there is no main pitch. And it goes back to what I was saying. When there's a main pitch, you can sit on that because you know what they're going to go to. He is mixing it up. 25% usage on his sinker, 23% usage on his sweeper, 22 on his change, 21 on his cutter, and he's throwing the four seam like fewer than anything at 9%. The Dodgers actually had him throwing the four seam more. So there's been some retooling here, and I think Matt Blake has turned him into more of a well-rounded pitcher. Gary, I think this lasts. I just don't think that it lasts as him as a starter. But this idea that he can come in, he can be an opener in a pinch. God forbid you have another, Nestor Cortez type of deal where he goes down. Now you have to throw in Marcus Stroman. Well, now you can throw in Ryan Yarbrough, and he's actually had success doing this. But also, he can help out your bullpen. So if you're having a rough day and you're like, man, I really don't want to use 5 different arms today, it's not looking good, Yarbrough can eat 5 innings out of the bullpen. He just can. So
wait, quick question. You just mentioned Marcus Stroman because you just breezed that past me.
Oh, yeah.
Is Marcus Stroman, because remember, he's technically speaking.
I'm a starter.
Right
I'm a starter.
He's dealing with a knee injury, okay?
Yes.
He was dismal. Not good. But then goes down with the knee. Mm-hmm. And my question is he just going to say this is lingering all year? Like the Yankees are just going to have him dressed out? I mean, he's in pants.
Wait, he's like in uniform?
Yeah, you didn't see What? It was the walk-off home run. So he was literally in uniform. Now he's wearing like.
I don't get it. I thought he hated this team with passion, wanted to be away
No,
from
he
it.
doesn't hate the team. He hates people telling him he can't do something, especially when he can't do it. So
Well, I mean, I don't like looking at Baseball Savant and seeing all blue. Unless it was opposite day. Then I guess
yeah, you
that would be
remember what your
considered
parents
good.
used to say? They're like, don't ever let anyone tell you can't do something. But it's like once you show you're not doing it long term, like over an extended period of time, I think it's justified for people to tell you, I don't think you could do this, which is why the Yankees said you should go to the bullpen. So it's interesting. I'm going to be curious what happens with him if they're just going to say his knee hurts the whole year. And I'm certainly his knee's probably bothering him. I don't doubt that. But is it going to bother him until the final out of the postseason? It'll be pretty interesting.
I don't think he'd be out there if they were doing that.
But it's like, what do you do with him?
If they're
Is he
like,
actually-
we're going to pay you $18 million, just shut up. Like, I don't know.
I mean, let's be realistic here. You're talking about $18.5 million, and you're gonna what, pitch somebody because of that? The Yankees pitching is a strength right now. Their ERA, I have it here. The Yankees starters, the last 15 games. Remember we used to talk about them pitching the Yankees out of games? That was a topic of conversation at the beginning of the year. Their
Absolutely.
ERA the last 15 games, the starters, is 2.26.
Yeah,
So
and the last
every
time we
game
saw him,
we're
he
in it.
couldn't get through an inning. An inning. I don't care that he was injured.
I love this chat. And I'm going to throw the Rocky Sullivan super right back on and read it. Actually, I'll just read Rocky Sullivan super right away.
Yeah.
It says, for Gary,
Thank you, Rocky.
I know Beboss Island was a reference to Revis Island. Good call, Chef. Appreciate it, Rocky. And I love this chat. This is great. No, that ain't it. There we go. David Lawrence, this is excellent. Said, I'd never talk again for $18 million. I was literally... I would sell everything and move with my wife and daughter to like...
I would turn into a mime.
Brother, they could put me in a mountain in Baghdad and you would never hear from me again. No Wi-Fi, nothing. You wouldn't hear from me. If I had to do it for like a couple years, I could do it. When you're talking about someone paying you, and don't cut them short, it's $18.5 million.
Yes.
It's quite an insane amount of money. So, and also people, you remember people were worried. They kept asking us in the chat, and it was valid because technically it was part of his contract. They're like, do you think that the Yankees are going to have to take him off the field to keep him away from 150 innings? I was like,
He's not
literally
getting 150 innings.
No. It's literally like
Your mom
an
is
Evel
saying we're
Knievel trip.
not moving to Baghdad, son.
Not moving to Baghdad. Yeah, I bet not. She lives in San Diego, California, just brutal weather. Baghdad and San Diego, very similar.
So, full disclosure, it's 140 innings. For those of you who don't know, that's what we're talking about here. If Stroman were to pitch 140, it automatically triggers a player opt-in for 2026 where they would have to pay him another $18.5 million. So, like,
First of all, what would you do, by the way, if he was doing what he did last year where he was like kind of falling off at the end? I would yank his behind right off the mound with 130
oh, you know what I would do? I gave the Cowboys fits because it was about $500,000 that they didn't want to pay to Cooper Rush. Remember, they took him out in Week 18. They're like,
Yes, I
Trey
do remember
Lance,
that.
you're playing. We're going to give you a shot. No, they're not giving Trey Lance a shot. They didn't want to pay Cooper Rush's $500,000 bonus. So
Good. Cooper Rush is not any good. So
yeah, but like
it makes no sense.
$500,000 and $18.5 million.
There is a difference. Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, he can go to Singapore. I don't care. Like, it's look, Cody Bellinger has a player opt-in that has nothing to do with playing time. Has nothing to do with anything. He just can opt in. When you have one of these, it is made entirely for the team to be like, yeah, he's killing it. He has a 2 ERA or whatever. Awesome. No issue. But if he's not, there's going to be things like, yeah, he's on the IL. Do you know what it's for? I can't disclose that information at this time. Like,
I
that's
can't
what's
believe, by the way, well, at least we made it an innings thing because Cody Bellinger, for those of you who want to know what the difference is, like what gets you a player option versus like you get 140 innings, it's just talent. Cody Bellinger has the means to negotiate. Essentially what this is if he had a terrible year, like a Joey Gallo year, which a lot of people were throwing that on us because he did not play well the first couple weeks. They're like, Gary, your boy, Cody Bellinger, he sucks, right? And that $25 million option that Bellinger has, that player option, it doesn't go away, like you said, Jake. It doesn't go away no matter what. So if he performed terribly, it just lets him buy time and play one more season with the Yankees to build up his value again. Marcus Stroman, on the other hand, much older player. He's on, I mean, we were talking about the twilight of his career. I don't even know if I would want to call it that. So I don't think Marcus Stroman touches the mound for the Yankees again in 2025. I don't think it happens. I really don't.
No, and Ed W., love that you brought this up. They fake IL'd Holmes, and except Holmes didn't understand. Do you remember when they're like, yeah, so, like, what's going on? Like, why are you on the IL? Like, you know, is everything good? And he's, yeah, I'm totally fine. Like, it's like Holmes had no idea what he was supposed to say. Like, they did not brief him on that. And he was just like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Like, okay, but why are you on the IL for another 15 days? Like,
if I was the manager, I'd be like, yeah, what he really meant was he's ready to go to the IL because he stinks. He can't get it out in the ninth inning when we really need it. So we're going to say he's hurt, and we're going to figure out what's wrong with this guy. And then in the meantime, we hope that break that we gave him, and while we still paid him, by the way, that he figures it out in this lesser role, which is literally what happened. So, again, we want to give Boone credit for some of the moves that he's made.
yeah.
Based on the output that players are giving him. They're paid a lot of money to perform, but when they don't perform, you got to do something. And sometimes a guy's job description says he's supposed to do one thing, and he very clearly can't. And it's much harder than I think we make it seem to just take guys out of the role, because you have to remember, when they take a dude like Devin Williams off the mound as closer, you got to go see them in the clubhouse. Like, he talks to him. It's not easy. So, tough job. I probably still would want the job. I think it would be fun to be manager, but yeah, there's definitely some drawbacks.
No, there's definitely drawbacks, but I think we covered everything. You want to get into Profit X and talk about the Yankees Rockies?
Sure. The over-under should be 11.5. If the Yankees...
Oh,
hold on a second. Does it go away or no? So who was it that had the chat? Because I want to make sure I put them back on the screen. It was about our offense.
Huh. I don't know.
I think it was Mark. Yep, here you go. Mark.
Oh, yeah.
Double super. Even though it's the same super from earlier. Brings up great series. Obviously, we swept. Not happy with the lack of offensive production. Mark, now's your time. If the Yankees don't score during this Rockies series, this is the most valid comment of all time. The Rockies reek. They stink. They suck. Their buns, their cheeks. Horrible. So, the Yankees have a clear job to do. You have the Angels coming up after the Rockies. The Angels have won 7 games in a row. They're very formidable right now. We're not sure how, but they are. It's reality. So, you need to take care of business now, ride out this win streak, extend your lead in the division, and then be prepared for a tough series on the road in Anaheim. And then, of course, we finish it off with the Dodgers. So, tough road trip. Yankees got to take care of business, especially, to Mark's point earlier, offensively.
Yeah, and the Yankees are going up against Tanner Gordon, who is 0-7 for his career with an 8.19 ERA and 9 starts. And he has a 1.70 whip.
This is like, hold on. This is like Elden Ring, where I cast a spell. Cheek should be here any moment.
Yeah. Amadeus. Instead, it's Stroman singing, I'm a starter. I hear this in my head every day. I'm not kidding you. I'm a starter. No, I'm a starter. It reminds me of that poster. You remember the poster where, do you ever see that in science class? It was like, you got to believe in yourself. And it's a lion in the mirror, and it's like a kitten looking into it. That's what I feel like this really is. Every single science teacher in school had that exact poster.
Every expert was once a beginner. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. But it's just Marcus Stroman staring in the mirror at the person that he wants to become. It's just Marcus Stroman in the mirror.
He's just this Jack 6'3", pitcher who's his ace. Oh my god.
Oh man. Anyway, so here's a little scouting report on Tanner Gordon. He is in the top percentile in walk percentage allowed, which is good for him, right? Like he doesn't walk batters. But everything is in the blue on Savant, Gary. And he only has a four-seam fastball, runs about 94.6 miles an hour. A changeup that he throws 31% of the time. He throws the four-seamer 46% of the time. And then he's got a slider that he throws 22. So he only has 3 pitches. And what? What'd I do?
So this guy is just not good.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. And I think this is a good opportunity, especially in Colorado. Like, if he was going to shock everybody, it would be at Yankee Stadium, and he'd be like that singer. I always bring him up. I'll never forget Brady
Which
Singer,
guy?
I think it was.
Oh,
from
yes.
Kansas City.
No, he was very good. Yeah, multiple times, actually. Yeah.
Every time he faced the Yankees, he would just destroy them. Gordon, in another scenario here at Yankee Stadium, probably is a pain in the ass for no reason at all. But in Colorado, I think the Yankees bats have been waiting for this. I think they're excited to hit in Colorado.
Volpe's going to have a 2-home run game, by the way.
He probably will. And it'll probably, well, I don't know. Is he going to have 94.6 blown by him?
I don't think so. I think it's got to be at least so here's the thing. This is the catch with Volpe. Volpe obviously struggles understanding the strike zone. He's very inconsistent. One week he's got it. The next week he's like Men in Black. He just totally forgets what he did previously.
He whiffs some more middle pitches than anybody in the league.
Which I don't even know if that was even an indication of anything, because those names that you sent me on that list were some pretty impressive names. It was like Corbin Carroll, like some of the best bats in the league.
Yeah, so then you have those guys who are doing other things, and then you got Volpe who's not doing those things.
This is true. Like Corbin Carroll has 30 home run pop. He's going to hit like 290. Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely differences. So, but I think Volpe, the only way you can blow 94 by him is if you've got this devastating breaking ball that he's got to respect. There's no pitcher on the Rockies in their history of their organization that's going to fool really hardly any hitters. It's just not going to happen. So I think Volpe, like, we might have a 2-homer watch. Like, dude should be raking in this series.
He's going to need it. He needs a series like this because he, as you've said, is a streaky hitter. It's why he should be hitting at the bottom of the order, not ever hitting 5th. But
I think 9th is the best spot ever for him. It would be great.
I've always said I like the wraparound where the 9th hitter has speed on the base paths. I've always said that. So I actually agree. And yeah, Gordon is not, let's just say, for lack of a better term, not very good. Based on what he's shown in 9 starts. Could he be good down the stretch? Maybe. But
that's a lot of starts.
Clark Schmidt, though, he's also... See, Gordon in 6.5 innings pitched this year didn't give up a home run. Clark Schmidt's given up 5. So I do think the Rockies could get to Clark Schmidt. I do. I could see them hitting a home run or 2. I think this will be more of a higher scoring game. And honestly, if the Yankees have any sort of rustiness coming off the road, like the travel day sucks, I don't think they plan this well at all. So if there's some splashback from that, I wouldn't be surprised. But let's pull up Profit X here.
Well, we can go off rip. We're taking the over. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know how they say blank check with contracts, blank over under. I'll take the over. Yeah. Okay, so the total is 12.
Oh, my God. Okay, so we got to really think about this practically.
Well, okay, I'm going to make this very clear, okay? We don't have anything here right now, just these lines, but I am going to definitely take the 1 through 5 innings over.
Okay, and what is that 1 through 5 innings over? What's that going to be at?
Okay, so if that's 12, then I think it'll be probably 5.5.
Okay.
I think we get early and
I'm not going to overthink this. I know it's a lot of runs, especially in baseball, where hitting a baseball is still technically the hardest thing to do in sports, but I don't know if that saying has anything to do with arguably the worst baseball team.
This will likely go down too. Like, remember we got Rodon at like 7.5 last night,
Yes.
and then ended up like our friend Errol Epstein was like, "Oh yeah, I got him at 6.5." We're like, "What?" Like,
6.5, really?
yeah. So it was higher last night. It went down. So
Okay,
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this goes down to 10.5. To be honest with you, but the
Okay.
point
By the
being-
way, I don't think they're going to get to Clark as much as you think they will. I think he's going to bounce back. This Rockies team is that bad, in my opinion. I've actually watched them somewhat. Yeah, I think Clark is going to go over on K's. We're going to hit the over overall because we're just going to rake. I think we're scoring double digits tomorrow. First game of the series.
damn. Okay.
Someone's
Yeah,
hitting a multi-home run game. I'm not sure who it is. I said Volpe, but I don't know. Not sure.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Rockies, you're not kidding. Oh my God. I mean, Mickey Moniak is playing actual like he's starting games, so it's not great.
Stunner in our chat says gambling on baseball, man. Poor Pete Rose. Yeah, Pete Rose is moonwalking and is great right now. It is.
Jordan
It is
Beck
a shame what baseball
is their best hitter right now, and Hunter Goodman.
Who is that?
Exactly.
I thought you were going to say Sal Goodman. I didn't even know. I have absolutely
John Goodman.
no idea who that is. And by the way, that's no disrespect because you have to make it through all levels of minor league baseball. It's very hard to make it into the professional league. But,
Dude, what happened to Brenton
bad.
Doyle? Remember I was talking about trading for him last year?
yeah, what's he doing now?
219, 631 OPS. All right, I'm convinced the Rockies have some virus going on where they just play bad. Because, like, they have some guys where I'm like, all right, why are they not hitting well? And keep in mind, they're in Colorado. So, like, why are they so bad?
I don't know. I played golf there one time, and I normally hit my driver like 305.
Damn.
Balls were going 380. In Colorado, the ball...
380?
Yeah, dude. The ball just is... It's a launching pad. Which is why, by the way, because everyone always wonders, like, how is Colorado such a hitter's park? And they always just say, oh, it's just because it's in Colorado. It's like, that's true, but also there's so much ground. If you ever pay attention to that, the dimensions over there, the outfield walls, there's so much ground to cover for all outfielders. Do you remember what we said last year about Soto playing left field and that we didn't want to do it at Yankee Stadium? And it was because of the ground that he has to cover. Colorado is worse, but in all three positions. So it's just a nightmare out there. I think we're going to put on a show. I do.
All right, well, I think that's pretty cool because Rockies fans don't have much to cheer about, so maybe they can just enjoy watching the Yankees hit bombs.
Yeah, they're still wearing Decker jerseys, and that's all I've seen.
Ryan McMahon was
The
like
Eric
their
Decker.
top guy. I'm out on Ryan McMahon, by the way. Like, I don't want to trade for Ryan McMahon. 689 OPS, 207 average. I know now he'll randomly hit like 3 home runs in the series, but yeah, I don't see the hype. Like, if the Dodgers want to go and get him, by all means. I sometimes they're just guys that just kind of run their course, and we've seen that. I mean, Tulowitzki had an excuse because of the injuries, but like, I don't know, man. Like, they have a lot of those guys, though, on this team where you're like, wow, but he was good like 2 years ago. Why is he horrendous? Like, the whole team, I mean, what is their, oh my God, they're batting 219. That's their team average is 219. Their on-base percentage, their team on-base percentage is 286. And they have a 648 OPS. And that's horrific, Gary.
Yeah, well, like I said, they're losing a historic, really at a historic rate. Just come in and take care of business. By the way, last thing I'll say, this is essentially my last point, is that the Yankees in general against bad teams last year did not take care of business. they would show up, and I think the way our chat put it, I'm going to essentially just regurgitate what they said, is that we like to play to our competition. That is not a good thing. That's not championship DNA. That's not how you go where you really need to go. You need to take care of the easy series, and I hesitate to call any series easy, but when you're playing a team that's on pace to win 29 games, and you heard correct, they stink. You need to go in there, take care of business, and then see what you got against the Dodgers and the Angels after that. But you don't want to mess around and play with your food here and then turn around and say, we need a couple games in LA. I don't like it.
Yeah, I am going to say I'm going to take the Yankees run line. The money line doesn't make any sense. That's not going to be profitable in the slightest. It just doesn't make any sense. So the run line is 2.5. So they have to win by 3 runs. I'm going to do it, Gary. I am. I think they do get to Clark enough to kind of pad this total run. So I'm going to take the over on 12. If you can get, lower, I mean, that gives you some more wiggle room, but okay. I agree on that. And then, man, who do I want to pick to hit? Well, either total bases, home runs.
Total bases is Anthony Volpe. Go ahead and book it.
Okay, so
lower
you got
velocity.
Anthony Volpe.
Yeah. What's that?
So you got Anthony Volpe.
Yep, I got Anthony Volpe over 1.5 total bases. I just think this is a series. No high velocity off the mound. He's not going to struggle with that. There's no devastating breaking ball. And by the way, statistically speaking, in Colorado, breaking balls move less. I just think,
my God. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Anthony Volpe is going to, and I've mentioned his inability to be consistent when it comes to laying off breaking pitches in and out of the zone, whether it's in the zone. You mentioned swinging at fastballs down the middle pitches and missing those pitches. I think Anthony Volpe, this is going to be the series that gets him at least some momentum in the right direction. But of course, what'll matter is how he's consistent when we see the Angels and we see the Dodgers. So yeah, I'm not saying that this Rocky series means anything for Volpe, but I do think he's hitting that over on the 1.5.
I like that. Bellinger's got a lot of experience playing against the Rockies, obviously, right?
Makes sense. MVP years.
Judge is definitely hitting a home run tomorrow. No doubt about it. He hits 316 against the Rockies, which I understand he's hitting almost 400 right now, but that's still really good to have like 316 against a team. I'm honestly wondering if DJ LeMahieu is an option. Oh, yeah, he's an option. 8 games, he is 14 for 30. Yeah. Sign me up for DJ LeMahieu total bases. We were going to do it, and for those of you that are wondering, we were going to do it for this game, but Boone didn't play him. So I wasn't just going to be like, oh, he might pinch hit, and then we'll get a double. No, I'm not banking off like one.
Yeah, you text me about that. That would have been nervy. But I want to say this before we hop off here.
Yeah.
For the comment section, I want you guys to let us know who you're giving essentially all of the credit to, because our prompt when we started this episode was whether or not Aaron Boone was essentially deserving. How much credit do you think he deserves? Who do you think deserves the credit? Because obviously, I think most of us agree this isn't some, like, Aaron Boone's not being Connie Mack right now. This isn't just, he's not pulling the strings. This isn't some Hall of Fame effort. He's just doing a solid job so far. And then it remains to be seen what he does when it really matters. But I want to know who you guys think is responsible for this start, because there are quite a few names. You can go Paul Goldschmidt. You can go players too. You can even say Brian Cashman for the offseason he had. Let us know who you think is responsible. We'll read the best ones on our next show.
Yeah, and I would probably go with Matt Blake. At least he deserves a lot of credit. But yeah, that's going to do it. Be sure to check out Profit X if you haven't already. Yanks U is the code when you sign up. Helps us out. And yeah, that's going to do it. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Probably pretty late, I would imagine. The Rockies game is late. I don't remember how late it is, but I think it's like a 9-something start. So
bring the Mountain Dew.
But we'll see you late tomorrow night. But we appreciate you guys. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and, of course, leave a comment based on who you think deserves the most credit for the Yankees hot start. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
And like this video.